Shalom. Mr. First and foremost, I do want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh B'Hashem Shah B'Hashem Kakdash, the born to the apostles, Nails Great Millsong, 4 teachings is truth, peace, and blessings to the whole of Israel. Yahweh is the name of, the friendly Chibu B'Hashem is the name, and Yahweh Shah is the name of the begotten Son. Back in our lesson, and as he was in the title, what is the MOTB? And I'm going to be going to this video right here. I believe I saw one of the brothers, make a lesson, going to this particular video. So I thought I'd make one, going into it, giving my 2 cents, as well as, give an update regarding Revelation 13 and 16, to especially warn our people to stay far away from the MOTB, which is, a quick answer, the RFID CHIP. As y'all see, Elon Musk heavily pushing towards, the Neuralink, which already have, human trials been done. People have it pretty much already, which, going to that mark in the forehead. But we're going to further expound that point, throughout the lesson, it being ultimately a physical mark. As you have a lot of these others like camps pushing and promoting confusion that the mark is spiritual, that it's sin itself, which is just completely off and makes no sense. I made various lessons, debunking that BS, But let's continue on. Let's get this video.
I've heard lots of different things that could be the mark of the beast. The first one being the COVID shot. The next one I've always heard is digital currency. Another one could be Neuralink.
The mark of the beast is going to be something in our bodies that will give us access to these particular things.
Like Neuralink.
It would be something similar to that, or it could just be something like an RFID chip that can scan it. They know who you are and they know that you can have access to it.
And you've been seeing various stores, supermarkets, and really everything moving towards a digitized system. There's a reason why you're seeing this economy collapsing. Everything pretty much going downhill. The devils want to ultimately, usher in this so-called, great reset, and to really, have everybody under this, CHIP, this charagma, to have complete and total control. But you see how they're slowly conditioning and preparing you for it via these different apps like Amazon One, where you're able to pay with the palm of your hand. These, various other, apps, and it just where you're able to walk in the store, pre-buy things and walk in, get things you need, and walk straight out. You have stores pretty much making it to where you need to scan, show your ID in order to open a door. I believe at Costco, I believe they have a membership thing where I believe it used to be physical. It's not, maybe, but I know they're moving that towards it being digital. So you're seeing various steps being taken towards the implementation of this beast system, which ultimately ran through this charagma, this RFID CHIP, which is the MOTB, for those that want to continue to push and promote confusion and say it's other
the
things.
food and things of that sort. Fathers of the church say that you're not going to be able to get that chip without some type of renunciation of Christ.
I've always heard about the golden calf. How does that play into the end?
The difficulty with the golden calf in the Old Testament is that they basically created a god of their own making. And so this is the same type of thing that you're going to.
And if you take this charagma, this MOTB, you're making Esau, Edom, your God. You taking that MOTB goes to show that you are
See in relationship to the Antichrist. He's going to be perfectly possessed by Satan. We'll be dealing with somebody who will be endowed with Satan's intelligence, and as a result of that, it's going to be extraordinarily difficult intellectually to combat this guy without specific grace.
And it's not only one antichrist, as you see a lot of people heavily push. You get in the scripture, there's multiple. It literally goes into it. But let's get into these scriptures, and also brought up these points, which I'll get later on. But Revelation 13, 16 through 17, and it says, "And he called the both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond." Try and close that and add. It says, "And he called the both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead." And it's why it's so important to look at the etymology of these words, so that you know what these scriptures are talking about, what it's going into. Because nowhere in the scriptures does it say, this MOTB is a spiritual mark. And they still haven't broke down verse 17 of how you're going to buy and sell with the spiritual mark. You'll make that make sense. But it says, and he called all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. You also see Elon Musk, other companies promoting following in suit, creating things, to have the Neuralink, which is going to that mark in the forehead. And also says right here, mark in their right hand. And you have a lot of people that try to outwit, try to outsmart the Most High, trying to create a loophole. Or what if I take it in my left hand, since it says it's right hand? Well, when you get down Revelation 14, 9 through 10, it doesn't matter which hand you take it in. But verse 17, it says, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And very soon you won't be able to live a so-called normal life without it. You're going to have a choice will have to be made come to these last days. A lot of people are going to be pushed into a corner, and so you're going to have a lot of Israelites end up buckling that pressure, bending that knee. They were going to be tried and be tested. This is what you've seen back in the year 2020. Dealing with those restrictions, those mandates that were in place. And you had a lot of Israelites that end up taking that concoction that Esau cooked up, which we warned do spend for Yahweh Shemashah to stay far away from. And I just recently watched one of the brother's lessons. He went into how many people in America took that thing. It was over 80%. That's a lot. And he also made that point. You can imagine how many Israelites that went behind brothers' backs, behind the scenes, and went up, took it, and took it, Because you also had points to where your job was on the line, where you needed to have it to, or it was required to go to your job, to travel, And you had a lot of guys that, didn't put their faith and trust in the Lord. And they went up and took that concoction. So that just goes to show where, you're at. Because if you failed the pop quiz, imagine when the test is now in play. And it's only going to be a whole lot worse. That was not but a trial run, a test run for what this devil's really getting ready to do. Dealing with this MOTB. To where you won't be able to travel, you won't be able to leave your city, your state. It will be required to enter stores and businesses and your job. To access the internet. This type of things the devil's getting ready to do. And why you're going to have a lot of hands be forced, by a lot of people. Which a choice will soon have to be made. Read the last part one more time. That no man might buy or sell. So how are you going to buy and sell with this spiritual mark? How are you going to buy and sell with sin? How are you going to buy and sell with Caesar Borgia? You push that what you spirit is Caesar Borgia. This is off. Makes no sense. Let's get the rest of these scriptures. Revelation 6 and 2. And it says, and the first went, further expound that point of what the MOTB is. For those that still are struggling to see, it for what it is. But the Lord has set up prophets, watchmen among you to warn you of these coming times, to tell you of these things. As in Ezekiel 3 and 17, give them warning from me. Isaiah 62, I said, watchmen upon towers that will not the peace during the night. What are watchmen known to do? They sit upon those high towers, they overlook, can see if there's any danger, and when danger is close, they blow that trumpet. They give the warning. And this is a part of that warning, to especially stay far away from it. Because if you do take it, you will be destroyed, plainly put. But let's read this right here. And then the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. And you receiving that, charagma, that MOTB, goes, you are much in agreement with this beast system. That you're making Esau Edom your God. That you're all right with the ways and philosophies, of this place and of it. But dealing with that grievous sore, when you have people that, do go out and take, that charagma, which you have, people doing already, which you have this one girl on TikTok called herself Chip Girl. You have people that take that Neuralink, but dealing with that, mark in the hand, people will have that sore, after they receive it. It's like, and let's actually get an image. Let's just look up sore. See if we can find good images. See if people have those bumps from it. What's deal with that grievous sore? I was bring have band-aids all over it and stuff. Guess what? It ain't supposed to be, going in your body. As you get within the scriptures out, no incision, should be made on you. Let's actually get that. There shall be no cutting the flesh. Leviticus 19:28 says, "Ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord." And this is especially a part of that because there is an incision, on your body. You're making a cutting into your flesh, which scriptures go into that, which actually got dealing with that stigma, which full thing stigma. But it says an implanted RFID C-hip in the hand can cause a sore, particularly if it becomes infected, rejects, or is damaged. So dealing with that grievous sore. One more time from our top. And the first went out and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the MOTB, and upon them which worshipped his image. Now, get that word charagma in the Greek, which you can also get in a blue letter by just search up charagma. You go into the same thing. But speaking of Revelation 13:16, going to that word mark in the Greek, goes to the word charagma, which you see right here. Charagma is a Greek word primarily meaning a stamp, imprinted mark, engraving, or badge of servitude. You taking and receiving this charagma goes to show that you are in servitude, which is that you're making Esau Edom your God, that you are, his. Just as you have people that will mark and brand, their cows, their animals. You have people even that will C-hip their dogs and cats. Why do they do that? They go to show they have ownership over it. For example, you have cows, wander off. They'll be tagged. Oh, he goes over here. Oh, he goes to this farmer, or whatever the case may be. Someone finds a cat and dog that's lost. And you have people that will record these videos. They'll take them to these vets to see if they're C-hipped or not, to see if they have an owner. And what this devil's wanting to do to you. And it's going right over people's heads. But it says right here, and it says, appearing in 8 times in the New Testament, notably in Revelation, as the mark, the MOTB, saying that for short, implies a mark denoting ownership or allegiance etched onto the right hand or forehead. And not only the right hand, which we're going to get in Revelation 14, but when they go into that and push that point, it's going to show it's not speaking of a spiritual mark, but a physical one. It goes into that etching. There being an engraving, a stamp. And you can also get in the blue letter once again. It says stamp as a badge of servitude or sculptured figure, statue, graven mark. Let's see, the thing carved, sculpture, graven work. There's that. And you also have, which I just searched up, stigma. You can get the full thing. But it says stigma originates from the Greek stigma, a mark, puncture, or brand derived from stizen, if I'm saying that correctly, to mark, tattoo, or prick, stemming from the Pi root stig, to stick, pointed. So go and show there being an incision. There being a puncturing, which you go into those images that we just showed. It's going to that syringe being put into you to then inject that C-hip. But that's, one of the points I wanted to get right there. You can obviously get the full thing, stigma, which also goes into 666, which you in Revelations, which we can obviously get to. It's like it's trying to be a somewhat longer type of lesson. But hey, gotta edify the flock. And hey, be up people, they'll say we sound like broken records. We're gonna be repeating these things until it happens. Whether you like it or not. But this is verse 18. Here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Which we just got right here. It says Psi stigma. It says Greek alphanumeric phrase representing the number 666 in the book of Revelation 13:18. Number of the beast. Even further, goes into it. And we got that main point though with stigma going to there being an insertion, which is just further pushing that point across of it being physical, But Revelations 2:10 says, "Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast you into prison, that ye may be tried." So when we faced with temptation, affliction, adversity for not bowing down to this beast system, because you're gonna have this devil putting everything behind a paywall, which is ultimately going to be, you needing to have that MOTB. But then you have Jacob raise these unfaithful questions. How are we going to eat? How are we going to survive? Put your faith and trust in the Lord. Because very soon we're no longer going to be relying upon this devil, man. Excuse me. But the fear of none things thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast you into prison, that ye may be tried. Martial law, these, FEMA camp, centers and all this stuff. As you also have, Walmart being a play on words, martial law. You have a lot of Walmarts that closed down a while back. What do you think they're planning to use those things for? You have a map showing all the FEMA camps all over the U.S. But it says, "And you shall have tribulation 10 days, going a certain period of time. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." So there's a reward and a prize waiting for us if we endure. Revelation 3:10 further expound that point. "Because I was kept with my patience, I also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which is ultimately going to be when his MOTB is presented in front of us, which shall come upon all the world." So everyone's be faced with that choice. And there's only one correct answer. And that's to try and dwell upon the earth. So everyone's be tried, tested. But as you read, the Lord's going to give us the strength and the spirit in order to endure and to deny this charagma. Because your own family may, come up against you, push and urging you to take it. Your own woman may push and urge you to take it. She may go out and take it herself. If you have young ones, children, she may take them along with her to go out and take it. Because you may have to go, a couple of days without food. You may want to have no internet access because they're going to be putting it behind this. Can't, put food on the table because you need to have the charagma in order to enter a store, to go to your job. But hey, very script, we're going to put our faith and our trust in Yahweh B'Shem Shai. The Lord's going to take care of us, man. You got to have faith. Revelation 14:9-10 says, "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand." So, any hand. Just your right hand is, your dominant hand in Revelation 13:16. So this is any hand. And also goes into that mark on the forehead once again, as you've been seeing, dealing with Elon Musk and Neuralink, other companies, create similar things, and people, taking things to that of it already. Verse 10, "The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, and this is the consequences of said actions if you do put your faith and trust in Esau, Edom, and this devil, and go out and take this charagma, which is poured out with a mixture in the cup of his indignation. He should be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the angels and the presence of the Lamb." The Lamb representing our Lord Yahweh Shai. So that fire and brimstone is going to be those thermonuclear missiles. As you know, also in the scripture, how the first death was by the way of water going to that great flood. The second death, which is going to be by the way of fire, and specifically thermonuclear fire. In Isaiah 10:1, it says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, going to draconian-like laws." That word draconian goes to harsh, strict, severe. As I made that point, dealing with what took place back in 2020, dealing with those restrictions and mandates that were in place. You had people even being fined and jailed over not wearing the mask. And you had people heavily pushing for those that did not take this concoction to be jailed, to be fined. Which I remember is one football player made a tweet, pretty much, pushing what I just said. That people that don't take or that don't have it should be, thrown in jail, whatever the case was. And look what ended up happening to him. He got taken out from it. As you had various people who were heavily affected from taking it. So you can imagine, what this devil's going to do, to those that did take it. Because, going back to that, Brother Lesson I watched, he mentioned, 6G and all this type of stuff. So ain't no telling what, you'll be when this devil, kicks that thing on, and, how you will operate, and, things this devil will do. To try to control you and make you bug out, go crazy, Speaking of Esau, Edom here, the wicked Bible speaks of, but there's also another scripture I do want to grab. Let's see. Yep, brought down by Shemashai's Isaiah 10:20. Close out with this right here. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such that are escaped the house of Jacob shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. So very soon we're no longer be relying upon this devil, but upon Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai. Because right now we still have to adapt, do things that we got to do on this side, but very soon we're going to take a full step back. Because very soon we're going to need to have this MOTB. It's going to be mandated, heavily pushed. And even back in the year 2020, people called us crazy. That we said these things would be mandated and there'd be heavily restrictions. But people mocked, people scoffed. But it's going to be a whole lot worse when this MOTB is, now in play. But, pretty much the point. I want to make a quick lesson, regarding that video. As you have people, questioning what it is. And, people are pretty much on the dot as to, what it is, dealing with the RFID CHIP. So, if these people are able to get it, and these people that are supposedly within this truth, dealing with these others like camps, are still unable to get it, it still ain't clicking for them, hey, they're through. It really just goes to show lies. Guys had to have sold out, had to have took the bag with the things that they are now promoting. As you have IOIC now pushing that we're not to hate Esau, Edom, pushing the hell doctrine, as you have also these others like camps beginning to push. It goes to show, that they're compromised, That's why you get in Malachi 3:18, discern between who serve the Most High and who serve them not. So just be wary, of these others like camps. And you should know by now who your true teachers are. Starting with the apostles and elders and down over that great millstone. And that's where the 100% truth resides. But that's the point, just, somewhat, quick hit regarding what the MOTB is, which is a physical mark, which we just went to, feel those definitions, dealing with stigma, dealing with that insertion, the word charagma, dealing with an etching, an engraving. So showing you it's something physical. It is the RFID CHIP, and especially dealing with the mark on the forehead being that Neuralink and other, various, companies create similar things, of it. But that's it right there. I do close out. Give all praise, all honor, all glory to Yahweh.